We're going to be speaking to Emma Cox, who's head of quality improvement at Salisbury NHS Foundation Trust, and I kind of bumped into Emma on Twitter, and she's shown some of her work around the No Going Back campaign that she's been running at Salisbury, and I thought it was just really interesting, some of the work and how Emma and her team have approached that work. So I did a bit of a stalking episode on Twitter and asked Emma for a chat, and said, "Why don't you come and join us on our session today?" And she very pleased that she accepted that offer. So Emma, whether it's on video or just verbally, tell us a bit more about the No Go Back campaign, what it's all about, how long you've been running it for.
Okay, I don't know what's happening with my video, so apologies everyone for a blank screen. What is No Going Back? So what this was, it was I suppose something that I found on Twitter, so I've done a Twitter stalk as well, and a concept around really wanting to encourage staff, an opportunity really for staff to submit ideas, improvements, innovations that they had introduced through COVID. That, as the title says, we didn't want to stop. We didn't want to stop when we start to get back to whatever the new norm is. And like I say, it was really an idea that was generated from something else that I had seen. But as things change, as you work through it, you recognise that actually maybe the first thing isn't the best thing to do, and it is what it is now. And really, it is that opportunity for staff to submit and to share something called a light bulb framework, which I know I sent through and I know has been tweeted. And it's a very, I hope it's a very simple but effective way for staff to be able to really start to log those ideas, which we then as a central team within the trust can help publicise to other colleagues, to other external colleagues as well. And my hope is that actually this framework will continue outside of COVID, and this will be our way of being able to collate and to encourage staff to share their light bulb moments. In terms of, I suppose, how long we've been doing it, we started it back in the summer, so we started doing some of this around June, July time, and it really was a series of monthly virtual network events for colleagues to sign up to, whether that be internally within the trust or from within our partner organisations. And as a team and as then breakout groups, we would have one of these light bulb moments, and the individual come and present to us. They would present, we would then ask the teams to discuss that opportunity and start to identify and unpick, I suppose, any of the barriers that were stopping or hampering individuals from being able to move that forward. And so we had some great engagement from a variety of individuals who actually, as a result of that, we were only going to do 3, but we've decided that we're going to continue to run them right up until the end of the financial year, because of the benefit that staff have had from attending those sessions.
So I'm sharing the slide at the moment, Emma. I'm not sure if you can see it. I know others can. So it just describes the template which people fill in and how you've captured those ideas. But these kind of things, and you know, from a quality improvement background myself, sometimes these ideas, these initiatives take a bit of getting going. What was the kind of response rate initially, and how are you finding that is progressing now moving forward?
So I'm not going to sit here and say we've got it 100% perfect. You know, we're on our own continuous and quality improvement journey within Salisbury, and so this is really the starter. We're at the beginning of what could be something, and hopefully will be something that will grow and evolve as we do. So I think it's been really mixed in terms of the engagement from staff. In terms of some of the examples that I've got to share, we've had we've had people submit ideas around support that has been provided to our staff in ED around psychological support, the production of linen bags to take home scrubs and to take home clothes in, the use of our theatres, awareness events for patients, so moving from that face-to-face awareness to doing them virtually and how they've had to respond to that. The use of Microsoft Teams, and how staff valued the technology that was put in place to allow individuals to work from home, and actually that whole thing around home working, the value that managers saw by being able to support staff to do that. Some of the training that teams had developed and sim training, and the difference that had made to be able to ensure that our workforce were up to speed and up to date on what they needed to be able to respond effectively and efficiently to what was coming through the door. And there's a variety of others that are coming through, and we're continuing to encourage staff through the conversations that I have with individuals when they talk about changes that they've made. How do we, how am I going to empower them to continue to submit or to continue to engage with me? And we can encourage them to use the light bulb framework, but actually if they haven't got the time to do that, just give me a ring, pop it in an email, we'll do the rest for you. So really trying to engage with those staff members as much as we can, in the easiest way possible, because what we don't want to do is to discourage them from submitting those ideas.
I saw on Twitter a few tweets from your chief executive as well about this. So clearly you've got buy-in from the very top. Have you had connection with the executive team, and are they communicating it through their pathways as well?
They are. So my boss, who is the director of transformation, she's fully supportive of that. And when we look at what we did to even launch the whole concept within the trust, we both did some video recordings rather than always using emails, newsletters, and what have you. We tried to find alternative ways to be able to engage with those staff. And again, I think there's some noticeable shifts within our exec colleagues and within our senior managers to embrace the whole continuous improvement approach, and this is part of it, and recognizing that we also have to share those successes, because actually that's what starts to encourage and build that and grow that network of change within an organization. And I see, and that's why I suppose I see these light bulb moments as being that little bit of that hook to be able to get people to fill those in, and for us to start to collate those and then be able to share them more widely with colleagues.
As you touched on before, that this is just the start of the journey for you, and some of these things take a bit of time to get going. But similarly, some things just hit the ground and run. Have you found things that have been suggested, but any more detail around how they've developed even further from the initial idea, or how they've matured?
Yes, so one of we're running another event in November, and we're certainly using that event in November to give feedback to colleagues on what was shared at the previous three. So again, it's really important to ensure that what people present, they also get the feedback, because it's really easy, isn't it, just to assume that it's all being done. So certainly within the support to ED, I've just submitted a bid to the Q Exchange to look at how we can expand that and to develop that further, recognising the huge benefit that we know that it has had for those staff groups within that particular service. I know that there's conversations happening within one of our divisions, and potentially links back out into primary care to continue to develop a service that has proven beneficial to a certain cohort of patients. So there's small step changes that are happening, and those discussions are taking place to ensure that work continues and hopefully sticks as well.
I think
that the biggest thing here is about that sustainability as well. And so how do we ensure that what we have started to introduce, we can continue to deliver that moving forward?
Yeah, I was just about to say exactly what you just said there. I think that's the sustainability piece, isn't it? Where if you involve the people who do the work in improving their own work, there's a higher likelihood of the work's being sustained in the long term, because they own it, don't they, in the end?
Definitely, and we all know, don't we, that improvement and joining an individual or joining a team's journey in what they want to do is the most important part. Myself play and colleagues play. You can't have it done to you, and it can't be my vision and my view. It has to be what you want to do as an individual, because actually you're right, they're more likely to commit to that, and they're more likely to roll with it and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on about how the staff have been engaged so far. It's really, really important. And where I've seen these kind of grassroots, ground level improvement initiatives being run before, what you start to see is a change in the culture. Culture is such a non-word, but I'm going to use it anyway. The culture. So have you had any kind of sense of where the staff feel more empowered in their own environments, and actually that's changed the feeling within the teams?
Yes, so I think that this forms part of a much wider piece of work that obviously I'm involved in within the trust, to embed continuous improvement within the ethos of the trust and within the culture of the trust. So it forms part of a much wider, I suppose, programme and strategic plan moving forward. I think what's really encouraging is that this is providing that platform and that space for staff to become involved in that, and it is growing. The conversations that I'm having and what I'm hearing, back from colleagues, is that there feels, and it's really hard, isn't it, to quantify that, but it feels different, and recognizing again that we're on that start, but there's something that there's different conversations happening within the trust. There seems to be a shift and with staff talking about what they're doing to improve, and that QI approach, and that's been noticed through a number of existing trust meetings and with others, and the no going back, the light bulb certainly now featuring within more of our strategic conversations, and how do we feed this into what we do within our operational planning, and how do we feed this into more of our maybe high-end strategic service review. So that there is a noticeable shift, and that's really powerful and really positive for me, because it proves that it is happening naturally, and individuals are buying into that naturally rather than it being done to them.
Yeah, and you can see when it starts to become business as usual, you really feel like you've got it hooked. And I think what I like about this and similar schemes is that it's not just one of those suggestion box schemes which people put a thing in, it doesn't really go anywhere. You get a sense as a member of staff, if you put something forward, you're going to get some kind of feedback.
Yeah, definitely. And we're continuing to look at what we can do to engage with staff, to empower them to be submitting ideas, but to then own it and to not always ask permission for making those changes. Because, like I say, it's about them owning it. But if this grows and this develops further, which I hope it will do, I'm really keen for this to evolve as we evolve as a trust, and as we evolve within our continuous improvement approach within Salisbury. And so it is very much at the starter of it, but so far it's been good. So yeah.
So what's next? I mean, obviously it is early days, but it's sounds like it's a positive movement. What's your plans for the next 12 months?
So I think 12 months seems quite scary, but in terms of certainly over the course of the next 6 months, shall we say, we're looking at how we can continue really to extend and to develop our links with our external partners. So we have had some good engagement already through this process, but certainly looking at how we can evolve that further. And we've got a good voluntary sector colleague signed up to come and do something specific in February around what we can do within the community and how we can evolve this to involve the community more. Continuing to promote the framework, and actually today is helping to do that, and to reignite those staff that haven't maybe thought or considered what they've done as an improvement, and get them and encourage them to be submitting their ideas. Continue to run these events. up until the end of March, like I say. But actually, for me, I think they will evolve into something else, and they might not be our no going back events. They may well become, I don't know, a generic opportunity for staff to share their light bulb moments, and it becomes something slightly different. But for me, it feeds into the wider piece of work that we're doing within the trust around, training, education, sharing our successes, as well as lots of other pieces of work that all come under the umbrella of continuous improvement and the strategic approach that we're taking. So it's all really positive.
Yeah, I think when you start linking in with your partners as well, it starts to feel like you are breaking down some of those organisational barriers and encouraging some of your the sort of links external to you and how they feed in and how you feed out to them. You've got the same kind of thinking. Just as we wrap up the session, Emma, there's something I'm always interested in is learning. How do we learn from some of the things that have gone before? And if you were talking to somebody who was going to do something similar, what would your advice be? What's your learning from the last 6 months or so?
I'm dreadful at not saying no to things, and so it's about allowing yourself enough time to be able to plan for it and to put that time in at the beginning. And that's probably my own my own error. But I think that the planning of this, having that support, doing the comms, getting the comms out there in time, and I suppose providing that space for people to come and ask you questions and being responsive. I think that's that's certainly something for me. How can I ensure that actually I am responsive to the needs of an individual by they can't fill the framework in, but actually they want to talk to me. I'll listen. And so there's definitely something about the planning, being there, supporting, and looking at, I suppose, how does it link in with what you're doing as a trust, is really powerful as well. I think if we can start to join the dots up and to start to connect things, then that makes a huge difference, because it does fit somewhere. It's not just being done here over in isolation. I think that's probably another good thing as well. Try to ensure that everything joins up, because then that ultimately adds to the greater opportunity.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a really important point now, is how you link this kind of work to existing organisational objectives, so staff feel like it's connected and we're all headed in the same direction. So that's a really, really interesting and useful learning point for anybody else who wants to take this forward. I mean, ultimately, what we've heard a lot today on this channel and on other channels that I've joined early on today is about how we kind of freeze some of the good stuff. Some of the things that we've learned, particularly in the COVID era period, and how we take that learning going forward, and then how we embrace the same kind of thinking, and we don't slip back into old behaviours and old thinking as we go forward. And I know you'll be on top of that. Wrapping up, Emma, is any last thoughts you want to share with us before we hand over to our next speakers?
No thoughts, but in the true nature of continuous improvement, if anyone who has any thoughts, feedback about what we could be doing to develop this further, then please do be in touch, because I'm always willing to learn and to have that feedback and support.
That's great, Emma. So I'm going to ask you just to drop your Twitter handle in the chat, maybe, so if anybody wants to contact you via Twitter. And you've also got the Quality Improvement Twitter account as well for Salisbury, which I follow, and that's how I connected with you. So thanks for that great session, Emma. Really interesting. Be really interesting to see how that progresses. So what I'll probably do, I'll probably be in touch, and we'll put a share up on Fab Stuff website as well about the work that you're doing, and I'll share these slides on the Fab Stuff website too, if you don't mind, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Thanks ever so much for your time. Thank you.